In this video, we're going to look at a couple of different ways to control the volume level of the audio in Pro Tools. And we're also going to look at the different places where you can find volume meters to help you keep track of the volume level of your audio. So here we have this saxophone track, and I'm going to go ahead and solo it and play it. And the most obvious way to control the volume of a track is with this fader, right? The main fader. Notice the meter is next to it. It's still cranking away even though the fader is all the way down. That's because this meter is telling me the volume level of the track, and then it hits the fader, and so the output is controlled. So the meter comes first and then the volume fader. So this volume fader is not adjusting this, all right? It's a post meter fader, if you will. All right. Now I can also control the volume in the edit window with this volume control right here. It's the exact same fader. But there is another way to control volume that is only in the edit window, and that is clip gain. Every time you create a clip in Pro Tools, if I hit B and separate this clip, now we have new clips. In the lower left-hand corner of that clip, there is a little fader, and it says 0 dB at the moment. And what I can do is I can use my mouse to click and drag, and I am changing the volume level. And you can see the decibels changing there. All right. And I can make it quieter or louder. So this is very handy because let's say that you have a note or a word that is just too quiet, like these guys right here. I can separate that clip, bump them up, and now they'll be much more audible. I might do it a little bit more smoothly than that, and I might add a crossfade or something in there to kind of help ease that volume transition. All right, so clip gain is another way to control volume. Let's look at where you can see the volume besides just this meter. If I go back to the mix window, you can see that there are meters in this submix track here. So the submix meter is metering all of the tracks that are routed into it, which is all the tracks, right? I have the lead tracks here, I have the background tracks, I have the drum tracks, and I can control the volume of the entire mix here. And this submix master track is just another folder track in which all of the other tracks are placed. This gives me an added level of control, and I can apply processing to the entire mix. It goes to the main left and right output, and then on top of that main left and right output is this master fader track. Now let's talk about master faders a little bit. I'm going to go to New, and just to show you that a master fader is a track type, and pretty much 100% of the time you want it to be stereo. Mono master faders, not usually a thing, and the only reason you would use any of these other ones is if you're mixing in surround. For this class, we're going to be using stereo 100% of the time until we get our studio upgrades. And then you would hit create, and this master fader sits on top of the main output bus, and number one, it provides volume control, but it also provides metering for the entire session. And notice how when I bring this fader down, the meter also goes away. That's because this meter is post fader. And so that's what's special about the master fader track, among other things, is that this is not showing you what's going into the fader. It's showing you what's coming out of the fader. All right. So those are the places to meter. There is another place to meter, and for that we're going to go back to this saxophone, and I'm going to put a plug-in on here. Let's put an EQ plugin like EQ37 band. We're going to talk a lot more about EQ in some more videos coming up, but for now, let's just concentrate on the top of this plugin. There's an in meter and an out meter. All right. And so there are input and output controls. If the audio was too hot coming in, if it was too loud, in other words, let's adjust this clip gain to, sabotage our audio here. We'll make that super loud. You can see the meters were slammed and this little red clipping light comes on. That's because the computer ran out of binary code to be able to represent that loud of the sound, and so it clipped. Clipping is not like a deal breaker internally in a plugin like this, but if it's possible to avoid, you do want to avoid it. In this case, if I couldn't bring this audio down anymore, if this was just too hot of a track, I could lower the input, I could lower the output, I could do all kinds of things. Still pretty slammed. Now you can see the input is still kind of hot, but the output is being controlled better. I did raise this up quite a bit. There we go. We have the Dyne 3 compressor limiter. I'm going to bring this down. It's just too loud. Here we have 3 meters, an input meter, an output meter, and a gain reduction meter. We'll look at that more in depth when we talk about compression. So that is another place where you can meter your sound. So you have the track meter, you have the submix meter, the submix master meter, the master fader meter, and you have plug-in meters such as the one in the EQ37 band or the Dyne 3 compressor limiter.